Hey everybody,
I'm Marshall Shore, the hip historian.
I'm Ken Clark, downtown realtor, gadabout town, beau vivant, I don't know. So listen, we're doing these videos around downtown, and you might have seen the last video, we were down in the Hilton Garden Inn. Well, we've come up to the
13th floor
of the Hilton Garden Inn. And since they kindly gave us a 9-volt battery to run the sound on this video, we thought we'd promote them. We are cheap labor. So anyway, we wanted to learn a little bit about the things you can see from the rooftop of the Hilton Garden Inn. So we wanted to talk about which building?
So we're going to talk about this really ornate brick building right here, which dates from the 20s and is called the Securities Building. Now, if you take a look at that building, it's really ornate, and it was winding up just as the Depression was hitting. So they ran into some money troubles. So one of the things they did to make extra money was they ran an illegal gambling ring and brothel on the top floor. Now everything was going along really well until one of those young women fell out of the balcony and onto the road.
That's how the parties always end, isn't it?
And indeed the party was over. Now there is a unique connection between this building and that building, because if you look at the very top, there's a very modern structure added on.
You say very modern, like modern for the 30s. Like it's flat brick as opposed to having facade, right?
Well, you don't have those arch windows. You've got square windows. You've got a very minimalist overhang coming out. You've got a balcony just kind of jutting out.
Okay.
And so that was added as an apartment or a penthouse for Walter Bimson from Valley National Bank, where we're standing in his building. And on a modern addition he did here as well.
So he was like the original downtown urban guy, because he would go from his apartment downstairs and come over to work. Wow, what a hipster.
Exactly.
So we're gonna go from here to look over the balcony on the other side to show you some other things. So I guess at this point we need a little bit of a jump cut over to this side of the building, where we're gonna talk about, well, that's the Renaissance, which is not a particularly astounding building, except for it was the space of the old Adams Hotel. So if you saw the videos, we covered the Melinda's Alley.
Right.
So did that the old Adams Hotel cover this whole block just like this one does?
So basically it was the same footprint. So a lot of the foundation is still the original foundation.
Okay, so it wasn't just like one wall, it's the whole thing.
Right.
That was a big building. How tall was it?
Probably about 4 stories.
Because it was all wood. You couldn't really build higher than that.
Right.
This building, thank God they painted it a few years ago, because it used to be that color of like every computer in the 1990s, that kind of beige, makes you just want to die color that every computer was back then. But what is also interesting, well, if you want to see it, we're going to show you an image. Right down there is where you enter Melinda's Alley. And that's, you'll see the little mural, not little mural, a big mural, and that's where the door is, so you need to know where to go to get a good drink in Melinda's Alley. All right, so we're gonna go over to the next spot to talk to you a little bit about Chinatown.
Yeah,
okay.
Are we gonna jump?
We're gonna jump, ready?
All right.
Cut over to this side of the building where, wait, what are we talking about over there?
Oh, well, we're talking about the ballpark right over there.
It's not old.
No, but what's really cool is, so the ballpark is actually built on top of what was Chinatown. Now there's always debates in terms of whether there were tunnels underneath or not. I bet you there were, even though the city says there weren't.
So, tunnels to what? What were they using them?
So, well, I mean, there's talk about opium dens, but it's also a way to get from one building to the next.
Oh, how many buildings were there?
So there were a handful of buildings.
Like warehouses?
So different shops and things, so that way they could just move things from shop to shop without having to come up in the heat.
Smart people.
Indeed they were.
So it's like this is almost like a little more than throwing distance from this bank building.
Right, so it really kind of shows you how small Phoenix was back in the 20s and 30s, but also the fact that it was diverse, but there was still segregation happening.
Certainly.
Indeed.
Yeah, a lot of segregation in this place. So, from here we're just going to end. But you should take a moment and come up, have a drink over at the Rooftop Bar, one of the few rooftop bars in downtown Phoenix. And you can start pointing out, there are a bunch of stuff we didn't tell you about.
Yeah, so let us know if you come up and you find other buildings and what you know about them. Please put some comments down below, so that way we have something to read.
There you go. See you next time.
Bye.